I'll try to. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, have fun with the Southwest.
I know, that's where we're headed today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I figured this would be fun because I have not really dealt with the Southwest per se and painting these types of red rocks. So I thought it'd be kind of fun in all of the colors. So
one thing, Marie, you know, at some point I would love to know how to frame these properly, because I want to put some up and I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm reading things and then I'm getting myself in a mess, and I'd love to frame them properly. So maybe at some point you could.
Yes, actually. So no, those are really great questions, because I have a bunch of these from our classes, and Leah's gonna have help me mount them. I have mounted my pastels on foam core, and I have some mounting tape, and it's actually better to do it. I should have done this on the foam core now versus after I've painted and then mount it. So I need to get in a better habit of doing that before class. And then also one thing to keep in mind, what I'm also learning is I have these mats, and I've bought different sizes, and instead of just randomly drawing a size, I'm actually using these as a guide. So I'm actually consciously, like today, I used this as my guide. And what I do is I make this box that I've drawn on here a little bit bigger than this opening. That way, when I set the frame on it, you see, I have enough to where it's not going to be right on that edge. So I kind of make it a little bit bigger. And so I'm going in knowing that this is going to be matted and also put on foam core. And then I can't speak for Leah, but there's an artist that I took a workshop from, and she has it's a fixative, it's a spray. And it's kind of expensive, she said. And she found a different brand, and I know I wrote it down, but it doesn't change the lightness or the darkness of our pastels like the fixative. That workable fixative I like because, and I'm going to use some today, I like it because I can spray right here. It will darken it a little bit, and then I can really have some fun texture putting more pastel over it. But we don't want that darkness when we're ready to frame it, to set it. So I'll get the names of that, fix it, I'll make a note, the finished spray. And maybe I'll do like a separate video or class that we can do mounting together, and I can show you. Yeah, and that way, because there's a lot of artists that talk about should I keep it right, you know, like a spacer from the mat and the painting, or should I just do it right against the glass? And there's a lot of different ideas and opinions. So I'll talk to Leah. Maybe we can do that when I go to her studio, and we can maybe put together something about that. Okay. So, hi everyone. Hi Claudia. Hi Natalia. So this month we are going to do mountains. For those, I'm sure you've heard of Edgar Payne, very famous American painter. He wrote a book about composition and just an amazing painter. I actually have a picture that I want to share with you of the red rocks that he did. And let's see here. It's always good to have painters' names that you can refer to when you get stuck. I do, especially with clouds mountains. Another couple artists that Leah and I were talking about is Charles Russell. He was also an American painter back about that time in the early 1900s. He did mostly Western, horses, Indians, and so forth, but really just beautiful paintings. Let's see if I can find some images here. Another one, let's see, find just really saturated color, just beautiful color. And the other one is Maxfield Parish. I'll type out their names so you can you can look them up after class. And this is Charlie Russell. And the other one is Maxfield. And boy, his color is just beautiful. And you'll see, I'll take a picture of his. Another American painter. And just look at his purples. Very limited palette. Maxfield, and it's Parish. Here's another one.
That's lovely.
Isn't that?
Mm. I love those purples and oranges.
Isn't it beautiful?
Mm.
So one thing that all of these painters talked about is aerial perspective, and that's what we work with, right, as landscape painters. And again, what is aerial perspective? It's when we're painting, we know that as we move back in farther space, it gets lighter, bluer, duller, even like a grayer color. And so when we're thinking about painting mountains, we're always looking at that aerial perspective, where the light is and the distance, and how we can convey that distance in our painting. A lot of times these pictures obviously are 2D, and we're creating a 3D essentially. And so what that means for us as painters is that we have a little bit of element of design that we have to do with our painting. And looking at this design of here, what I loved about it was it kind of had a stepped, it had a mountain, rocks here, and then it kind of led you over to maybe this rock, and then another rock, and then in the distance. So we kind of have these 4 separate planes. What we kind of need to do is something in the foreground. It's a little basic. I would say this picture, it almost looks like it's a river right here at the bottom. And so when we're getting ready to paint something like this, especially mountains or anything, right? What are we focusing on? What do we want the viewer to look at? What is our focal point? For this, I just love all these colors in this rock and this chartreuse, like bright green, and then these pretty purples, these lavenders. So in designing our composition, it's pretty nice in the picture, but we're going to need to do something about this foreground. So if our focal point is going to be this rock, I think that we need to have maybe something off here leading. Remember, this is composition, our zigzag, maybe coming here and then bouncing to this rock, maybe coming back here and then back over here. So that's kind of what my plan is in designing today for composition. Also, in thinking about, it's like our waves. We're going to do an underpainting, and we really want to have our underpainting work for us. For me, I chose blue to start with. You can't go wrong with orange. You can't go wrong with purple, really. It's kind of like what you want the tone of the painting to be. And so I chose blue because I thought it would be kind of nice of a blue with a little bit of purple in it to lay those peaches and the oranges on. I just thought it would be really pretty. So that's why I chose the colors for the underpainting. Another thing in designing, I don't know if I really want this coming right off the painting. It's just the way the person took the picture. So I may make it shorter so we have some sky over here. I'm not quite sure yet. The only downside is if I do have sky come over here, again, that's another way of your eye moving off the page. So I haven't quite decided on that. It's not wrong or right. It's just an idea. So let's get started. If everyone can see the picture okay, we're going to go ahead and just sketch it out. I'll send you over, I gridded it for you and I turned it to black and white, which I think helps. We're still wanting to make sure with mountains that our perspective and our measuring is correct. One thing before we start, the tips on the mountains, and this is just from my personal experience, if you're painting random mountains around your area and, you know, I wouldn't know who they are or what they are, don't worry about necessarily having every crevice, every edge perfect. If we're painting Yosemite, which is a well-known mountain, we really need to make sure we have it correct. Just a little tip, you know, those types like the Mount Hood, very well-known mountain here in Oregon in the Northwest. I'm gonna make sure that it looks like Mount Hood. I'm not gonna add another peak to it. But if it's something that you have around near you, go ahead. You can adjust it and no one's gonna know, and no one's gonna care as long as it looks right perspective-wise. So just a little tip, know your mountains before you start painting them. Let's see. I think that's about it. So big shapes, all we care about is big shapes. I'm just gonna sketch out with my pencil here. So if we want, I tend to grid a little bit to make sure that things are kind of put where they need to be for mountains. This is a well-known Red Rock Canyon down in New Mexico. So again, just kind of thinking about where I want to put my shapes, and I'm just looking at this big shape. So just the big shape. And generally, you don't need a whole lot. This part, notice we've got where these trees land right in here, and then we've kind of got it going back, these set back a little bit. So we've got this, and then we also have it coming in here. So don't need to worry about the trees necessarily. We're just looking at these shapes.
Are you using a pastel pencil, Maria?
Yeah, I'm just using a pencil today. Yep.
Okay. Which color?
This is just like a regular #2 pencil. It's just a mechanical.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. One thing, just like trees, Mountains will tend to get bigger, just like the waves. They will get bigger, and all of a sudden you'll have a mountain just not looking right. That's okay. It happens. It's just the way our brain is processing. And so negative shapes, right? This kind of comes up a little bit more. And another thing too to keep in mind is this is all fixable. Right now, we're just getting in our shapes, and then we're going to carve in with our pastel and create these marks, right? These big pieces of rocks that are jutting up. Right now, I'm just going to have it come like that. So I'll take a picture of it. Okay. I've set out some blues here. So when we're thinking distance, it's lighter and bluer, right? And grayer. One thing with underpaintings, I really love, this. It's, even though it's in shadow, it's kind of this really vibrating peach, warm brown color. And you can see part of the mountains down here. And so what I think, you know, might as well make the underpainting do the work for us. You know, we could paint the blue that we choose for this side of the mountain, but I think if we do the blue here and then down in here, really just add a pop of color that comes down along this baseline, it's going to be there, and we won't really have to add a whole lot. So again, just kind of thinking about how I want these colors to play out. So I'm going to run these blues here so you can see the colors before I put them down. Let's see. That way this is a little easier for you to see what they are. So farthest distant mountain is here. And we're just going to work right in here with that blue. I'm going to do a wet underpainting. Okay, then we're going to come to the next. Put this down. And let's do almost close in that color. And remember, I am not going to come all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to add a little bit of a different color. And let's do this darker, warmer, purpley blue. This one closest to us. Come just about to here. And we're going to add that really probably bright yellowy green in the back. And then I have this muted blue, green, teal, and I'm going to put this down here in the foreground. like that. I'm going to take that really bright green and I'll show you what it looks like. If you don't have it, it's okay. You just bring your blue. I'm going to put this right in here. I don't normally do this, but we're going to try it out. Okay. And then over here, I feel like we need a bright ooh, that's bright. Might do that. Bright red. I might do a bright pink. I think that's what I'm going to do. This is this red right here. And it's like this bright punch of color. And now we're going to layer over it, but we're going to have this right down in here. And I think that's going to look I'm going to try it out. Just like that. And I've got a really light blue for the sky. Just like that. This doesn't even look like a painting. But this is going to be fun. Okay. The way I laid out my pastels is each mountain, I've got a row of values. And the way I picked out my colors is starting with this distant mountain here and, 2 to 3 sticks, and then moving to this one, intensifying, and it's still in shadow, right? And then moving to this one where I have way more sun hitting it. And so I've laid out in my box, each mountain arrange from dark to light. And that way, if I'm going through and I can keep track of what colors I'm using on each mountain, and that really helps you kind of keep organized too. And you can share the colors back and forth. It's in the relative of the same family, so I'll take a picture so you know what I'm talking about. And before we start, so this is the distant mountain, these purples. Then the second, and it's all in a line from the dark purple to the light. And then here's the second row below that row, and that's the one, the one to the far left. Oops. So let's do our underpainting. We won't finish this painting today, I'm pretty sure. That's okay. If you have questions, I'll kind of go through things towards the end, but I'm going to use the isopropyl alcohol. This is 91%. And we're just going to go and start in with our light colors first. Try to keep our rubbing alcohol or our alcohol clean. It's okay if it drips. I don't mind the drips. Just like we'd normally paint. And our little mountain in the back. Just like that. Coming down. I am still referring to the picture. This is like our little roadmap. Just taking my time. I think I am going to go up to the top. Down. Make that little, that kind of comes up a little bit more. That's okay. We can adjust that. I find that I do like this angle brush when I'm doing these landscape underpaintings. Even a fan brush. Okay. Notice I'm kind of just dabbing. So it's not a hard edge right here. This is more of a soft edge. Let's come right on over here. And then we're going to paint just horizontally here. And then be aware that this line's going to need to drop down a little bit. That's okay. Yeah. Okay. Take some of that dark off. Okay. take a picture of this and then send over what you have. I'd love to see it. Good, Julia. Yes, good job, Josh. That's great. This is fun. Okay. I'll kind of wait. And we'll kind of start moving from the back, the sky forward. And not really worry about our trees quite yet. So with the sky, it does get a little bit lighter off to the right-hand side. It's kind of like a grayed out sky almost, just because of the photo. But in order to get that distinction between our farthest mountain, we are going to make it a little lighter as it hits the horizon, where that distant hill is. That will make that blue-gray mountain pop a little bit. So that's what I'm going to start with first. Let me see what everyone has. Oh, very nice, Claudia. Good. So I have this, this is it. It's kind of like a purpley. And I'm just gonna lay it on this back mountain, just a little, down on the bottom. Not much, just like that. And I'll come back with my really light blue. Just kind of blend it. Just, that's it. Okay, with sky. I've got two colors, a turquoise, very light turquoise, and blue. So we're going to start with these two. And I'm going to just look at my picture. And this is where I'm using this to carve down into the rocks. Looking at the negative shape. And that's okay. This is a little darker. We'll come back in with some light. Just using the side of my pastel. I'll come in with that turquoise. It gets a little warmer as we move down to the horizon. Looking at those edges. Nice, Julia. You may need, you can lighten up your mountains on the right-hand side. You may, and this is just, you know, knowing what color your pastel gets when you wet it, right? That's the tricky part. Because sometimes you try to not go, yep. But that's okay. You can glaze over it and lighten it up, because those will want to be lighter than the ones to the left. So no worries. We'll just kind of start working into the sky and bringing in some of these purpley blues and these turquoise. And I'm just looking at the edge of the mountains here and just following that. Another artist calls this fractured sky, and it is. We don't want the sky to be taken away from our focal point, which is these beautiful rocks. So we do want it to be blended with some color in here and not leave it where we have broad strokes that are so detailed. We want this very soft and light. Now I'm going to go to an even lighter purpley blue. I'm going to come off to this side here. Come down. And then even lighter turquoise. Blue turquoise. Let me see, I hear a ding. Yeah, nice. Good, Rashmi, that's great.
Thanks.
Now you can go ahead and start in the sky with some blues. So blues,
Yeah.
turquoise, and purple. I'll just send over a picture here. And then I've got just a little lighter, and I'm going to come down along this side, the bottom of the horizon. Maybe a little bit over here. I was using the side of my finger to blend. You can use a blending tool if you have one. But that's going to be good for now. I'll take a picture. And I'll wait so you guys can catch up. And for those who are ready to move on, if you haven't done already, go ahead and pick out some pastels like I showed you, some sticks for your 3 mountains. And color is relative, okay? So what I have picked out, I don't know for sure if it's going to work next to each other or on top of this. This is what I think and what I see. But once you put it down, you may realize that's not the right color. So that's why I always say test on the side of your pastel paper. I'm kind of in a, it's kind of dark in here, so just so you can see. I don't want it to be too bright to where you can't see, but maybe I can do that. You can still see. So I'm going to start each mountain. We're going to work darks to lights. Pastels, we're always working darks to lights. So we're going to look at our shadows in each of these rocks. And so I'm going to start with the darks on this one. I'm going to move to the darks on this one, move to here, and we're going to be shifting. And we'll go here to a value lighter and then to a value lighter, and we'll kind of just work our way. And we may use some colors on this to this. So just to give you an idea of how we're going to work this this painting. So I'm going to start with the distant mountain, and I'm going to just look at the darks, the shadows. And I see some over here. I see some on this side. And it's just using my pastel marks, just like this. And I know it looks dark. That's okay. I'm just adding it. And we know that this mountainside comes down. Okay. Now I'm going to go to the next one. Good, Tash. And just the same thing that I said to Julia. Now we're going to be working on the darks of the mountains. And so just be aware that this mountain here is going to be lighter in value than this one. Right now they kind of appear the same, and that's okay. But as we start applying our darks, just be aware of that, okay? And I'm showing you, but good job. Now I'm going to the next mountain, and I'm looking at the shadows, and I'm using purples. This is just a step in a warmer direction of that purple that I did here. This is a cooler, dark purple. This is warmer and then even warmer, okay? I'm just looking at this dark shape. Kind of comes up like this. I'm just kind of dragging it. I'm squinting. Coming right into the red area. Because really this is all one. And it looks like there's another piece that kind of jets back in. So I'm just going to add some there. Down into the red. Maybe just a little bit like that. And I'll take a picture. So see the difference of those darks, the reds? I have a more muted, cooler red. I'm moving to a mid-tone red. And now I'm going to come up in value with a dark red over here. So we're trying to set our perspective, working our way in the plane. And then over here, I'm going to do my darks again, squinting my eye, coming down here. I'm looking at this dark area, maybe up in here. And I'm just using marks. We're not going to do exact, but if we squint our eyes, we see this is the dark areas and these are some lighter areas. Now I'll add some up here. I got some. Again, bringing that right down into here. So here is a picture of this darker but warmer. Now look at the darks on each one. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
Don't have a question, but I just wanted to say hello. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, hi. Hey, Will.
Hi.
Oh, you got the oven fixed?
Well, Having
No.
blamed it on the faulty oven, it was more user error, I would say.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez.
But we've eaten, and yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. Good. Well, I'm glad you're able to join in. Yeah, just, I know we kind of just started this crazy, I'm just testing out the purples that I want to do on the back hillside. I'm just thinking, what do I want? And it's a little bright. I think I'm going to use that. Okay. So next, we're going to go to the next value lighter in the purples. And I'm going to use, it's a little more saturated, but I know that I can get that toned down a little bit. So I'm going to just lightly add some right here, just like that. Then I'm going to come to the next. And got this really pretty red violet. And look at how this rock is coming down this way. And you can even see the texture of the rock. So I'm going to be dragging my pastel just like that, very lightly. And then moving to this rock, same thing. This is a magenta. I'm just going to lay a little bit right in here. Not a whole lot. I know it looks a little crazy. It'll make sense when we're done. So in the back, I've got a duller, almost like a peachy color on this mountain. It's like a peachy orange. Good, Tash. So just go ahead and as we start taking our additional pastels, you're doing great. You're just kind of lightly going over the other colors so they optically mix. So we're not actually mix, but as you are taking different strokes, they start mixing on their own. And that's what we want. So there's no hard edges quite yet. We'll come back in at the very end and define those. So good job. So I've got this, I need a little more pinky color. Let's see here what I have. There we go. Let's do this. We're going to do this with this light orange. And I'm looking at these colors right in here. So let me take a picture. If you can see the difference. So I'm going to take this, it's almost like a glow that's coming up, and I'm just going to drag right along this edge. Very light. just like that. Then I'm going to come in with this lighter orange, and I'm going to come right over the top, just barely. Okay. And then we see it, it's got this purple haze to it. And so I have this light purple that I'm just gonna lightly glaze over the top. And we'll just leave it there for now. Show you. Okay. How's everyone doing?
I'm having a major paper failure. Everything just keeps flipping up and curling, so I'm having to re-stick all my masking tape.
Oh, are you using the UART?
Yeah, I'm using a 240 and it's very kind of like...
Oh, that's more coarse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one thing that people complain about the UART is that it gets really, it curls. Have you tried hinging, doing the hinge tape?
Yeah, it doesn't like that today. Normally it works really well, but it's just decided it wants to. I think my masking tape is not good, so I've gone up to...
Yeah, yep. And that's where you can, once I can show you how to mount on the foam core, it will help too, because that is, it takes away from that warping. Once it's mounted, then it's just like a canvas, like a hard canvas.
Okay.
So, all right. We haven't really done anything with the foreground yet, which I've got using some of these dark purples that we have. We can put some down here. Just remembering that this kind of moves a little farther into the back. Kind of have that. And it has reflected light. So what that means is that it's shining on the rocks and then it's reflecting down on the ground. And so we're gonna have a little bit of this really muted orange glow down here. So it's the light is actually bouncing off this rock and creating almost like a cast shadow down here. So it's really pretty. So we're gonna have a little bit of that muted browns, maybe some lavenders down here in the foreground. So I'm laying down the darks first. And what do I want next? Maybe a muted purple. Push that back a little bit. Okay. So this is what I've done on the foreground. Now, we know as we're going to work on this rock and then we move to this rock, we'll come and circle back to this. This is going to get even a softer edge. We're going to kind of bring that sky over that and soften that edge and maybe glaze it with a little bit of blue to kind of make that a little bit fuzzier and push it farther in the distance. But right now, I'm leaving it because I kind of need to, again, get my colors right here and then here. So just keep that in mind. We'll finish up and do the refining at the end. So let's work on this side of the rock. We've already gone in with 2 darks, and I'm going to start in with some orangey peachy colors. And I'm going to just come up here. Some more saturated. Very light, letting that underpainting kind of show through. Again, using just the edge. This is going to push that back hill rock because this is brighter. And I'm just gonna bring it down like that. Oops. One of the nice things of using this sharp-edged square pastel is that I can press and create these marks. And I love that. And I can use the edge and bring it down just like that. Okay. Okay, so Rashmi, good. Now what we want to do for that back hillside is get out some of your very pale purples and blues. Do you have any of those?
Yeah.
Do you have any light blue?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and apply some light blue on this distant mountain.
Okay.
Yep, good. So I want to show you, it is really, really bright, but again, we haven't laid our light colors, but see how that bright orange and then that muted orange, see how it pushed this rock forward? So that's what we're going for. And then we'll even glaze that with a muted blue, which will even push that into the distance. Okay. How are we doing on time? Okay. So let's go into got some dark rusty brown. I'm just gonna come into these reflected shadow areas. That's what I'm applying this color, and I'll take a picture of it for you so you can see. And I'm varying my strokes. They're not the same width. They're not the same length. Okay. I don't want to have them just like trees, like soldiers, where it's just straight lines. I'm really using my pastel to create edges by pushing and pulling. Just like that. Okay. That's going to be not the right color. Oh, did you send it, Rashmi? It didn't come across.
Yeah, I'm sending it. Sending
Okay.
it again.
Okay. So I'm using, did you send it? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's better. So right over here, we know that it's not as dark as you have it. So take some of that purpley blue and just glaze right over it. So drag your lighter color over that dark that you have right here. So it's just barely coming through. Good. Good. So now you can, Tosh, you can go in and take some of that sky color a little bit and just glaze over. You just bring it just a very light touch over that back mountain or rock. We want to push that back a little bit. Okay? Yeah. Good. This is just a blue purple, and I'm coming into the shadow areas here. Lightly glazing over the top. Okay. Let's move over into this rock. It's just a process of building up layers upon layers. Let's see what this is. This is kind of that bright peach. It's so pretty. It's one of those things I love about this. Got some bright orange over here. And I'm, again, just varying my strokes, looking at the contour and the shape of the rock. Letting my pastel do the work. Going a shade lighter. And we haven't even started the trees, and that's okay. I'm still letting this underpainting show through. I'm just squinting my eyes. If I'm moving too fast, just tell me. I can stop. Squinting my eyes lets me kind of see where the light's hitting. Then I'm gonna lay even a lighter color on this. Okay. So really look at the marks. It's just the edge of my pastel that I'm just pushing and pulling down to create these lines. I'm just following the edge and indicating. That's it. Your eye will put together all the pieces and say, oh, okay, that's what that is.
Right.
Yeah.
Squinting your eyes is really helpful. So thank you for that advice.
It's what?
Helpful? Like squinting?
Oh, okay. Is it helping?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. I know it's forcing your right side of your brain to just look at the shapes and not say, oh, this is a rock and this is the way it should be. And it's very hard sometimes to get that side of the brain to click in and not have your other side just overrule. So I have not touched. Yeah, no. Okay, have fun. The boy is on his way to the beach to light off a bazillion fireworks. Oh, to be 18 again. But you already can see as we're adding color how it's kind of, this is also highlighting, it's brighter and it's lighter, and this is still kind of in a shadow, but you can still use these really beautiful colors. And I think that as we start moving down here into the foreground, you're really going to see that. So let's think about how we want to lay out the trees. I actually really love this craggly one that you can kind of see these limbs coming off. I like that. I think that we need to have maybe a few of these smaller ones here. Maybe leave out these Christmas tree-like trees here and this hedge. I think I'm going to leave that out in the river. So we kind of just want to think about designing. So let's take, I've got this dark, oh, it's like a hard pastel. Drive safe. It's like a dark brown, almost black. And I'm just going to come in here and just indicate, and I'm rolling. I'm pressing and rolling up. So it gives this break in, I'm not drawing a straight line. I'm pressing my pastel like this, and I'm rolling it. And it gives it a more believable tree trunk, okay? So again, taking, this is a semi-hard pastel. You can do it with a new pastel. You take it and you just roll it up, just like this, just like that, rather than drawing a straight line. And that's just not, it doesn't look natural. So we're again, just coming in here and I'm looking at, I'm not gonna draw every single one, but just the ones that I see that will help kind of direct the eye. And then that kind of comes up like at an angle. Just like that. Maybe one here. It's gonna get covered up, but that's okay. I definitely like, oops, this one that he's kind of leaning to the angle. Kind of comes up here. Almost. Now, it's about right at this line of the rock. So we needed to decide, is it going to come up over the edge? We don't really want it tangent to that line because it won't let the viewer know, is the tree in front or is the tree right there next to it? So we are going to make it come up over. Like this. And I like that. It's kind of fun. It's kind of, and I do like this one over here. Kind of sitting down a little farther. This one kind of comes down about here. And I'm gonna make this guy start about here. And he's got more brown color to it, which is fine. Yeah. Like that. So we've got, we're heading, making the line, right, of composition. Taking our eye this way. And I think what I'm going to do is put this one in. I like seeing these branches. And it kind of has this pretty silhouette. I'm going to put them in. It comes out, almost touches this one. Okay. Yes, much better, Tosh. Yeah. So that purple that you have down on the foreground, take some of that and bring it up over here on this right side a little bit. Just lightly. That looks great. So here are the trees. And let's see. I'm going to come in with some bright orange. Just into the back. And along here. This is just a hard pastel. Okay. Now, let's look for nope. Too bright. Nope, too yellow. Okay, we need that just a little lighter. Let's use this. There we go. I'm just gonna put it right at that edge here. I'm just glazing. Just a little bit before we put this tree color in. And I'm gonna need that a little bit more pink. Just back and forth, back and forth. Just using those dark purples that we had earlier. And now I'm thinking about what is gonna be behind this tree color. Okay.
Marie,
Yeah.
I lost my internet connection. Can you just tell me what colors did you use in the bottom and on the right hand side mountain
Yes.
after using those base colors? Yes. Please.
Yes. So this is the second, right in the middle is what I was using, right in here. And then I used a blue that we used on the underpainting.
Yeah.
And I glazed over that a little bit to put it in shadow. And here's the blue.
Okay.
And that blue is over here on this side that I just put a little bit over.
I'm talking about the bottom bit.
And then the bottom?
The
okay.
Bottom bit.
And then the bottom was a dark purple and then a muted purple and then a little bit of orange. And here's the picture.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Can you see it okay?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. No, I'm trying to slow down because I know everyone's kind of moving at different paces, and my brain is just going to the next, and so I'm trying to slow down. So we are in a shaded area. It's going to be a little bit cooler with our greens as we work our way to the, even in the shaded, but more warm with the sun shining. So in thinking of that, our darks, I have for the trees, like a dark blue green and a, on the more blue and then more on the green range. And I'll take a picture so I can show you. Good, Tosh, that looks great. How's everyone else doing? Do you guys want to send your, how are you doing, Julia? with your paper?
It's okay.
Yeah?
They always seem to go really slow and then I kind of catch up at the end.
Okay. No worries.
And it's looking like a bit of a mess at the moment.
That's okay. I mean, it's one of those where we're just going at our pace and we're learning. And you can see that it is a process.
It is, yeah. Definitely in the ugly phase that Leah was talking about.
Oh, yes, yes. I call it the teenage phase.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think I'm going to spray this before I lay the trees on. Actually, I'm going to do one layer of the dark and then I'm going to spray it because I like the texture. So I'm just going to take this blue-green and I'm just going to add it here. Every which way. I'm not scribbling.
I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute and I'm making a ton of noise. I apologize. I thought I was on mute. And also, teenage phase is freaking brilliant. Yes. I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute this whole time and I'm like banging around because I'm.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm very sorry. I'm going to go on mute again. Like I thought I was.
You're fine. Yes.
My painting's a teenager too.
It is. This is.
My kid is also a teenager.
I have too. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I love them. But they're like, your painting goes through this stage where it's like, it seems hopeless and you're about ready to throw the towel in and say, forget it. And then you just keep at it. And it will get better. It will work its way out. But yes, it's like, dear God, what did I just do? I just messed it up. And that's totally normal. Totally normal. So, and there's Molly. Okay. I'm just looking at this area in here. Kind of coming out over into this just a little bit. One thing I wanted to point out, but see how crazy it seemed like that red was when we put it down? But as we're adding that green over the top, see how much it glows? Where if we would have done a really dark color, it would have competed with our trees. So I know it seems strange, but then as we lay these greens, it's just vibrating against that red. And it gives you that idea of being in shadow, but that warm, letting it just kind of come peek through. I love it. I guess we have another little tree here. I can add them in. Maybe we put them at the end here. This other one comes down a little bit. Again, we don't want them sitting on the same plane. Excuse me. We do have a little bit of shadow over here. I'll bring some of this over, but not too much. Okay. This, trying to get a good side. It's like a darker green. And I may need to spray. I think I do. This is the 500 grit. Can't layer as much. So I'm just gonna spray the bottom. Whew. Stinky. So greens. I pulled out some greens here. So what I've used, I'll set that to the side here. We're just gonna work our way down. So I broke it up into two sections, the shaded area and the sunlit area. Again, just like the mountains. Put out some colors for the mountains for each one. It kind of keeps your mind organized when you're going back and forth to each hillside and each area. And sharing the same colors is totally great. You want to. It keeps it in harmony color-wise. I'm just wiping and cleaning these to show you what I have. Kind of dirty. Okay. I saw, Will, you just sent something here. Let me get this almost done and then I'll look at it. Okay. Ooh, I love it. Very nice. And what we'll do towards the end, Will, what I was talking about is with the distant mountains, we make these edges very soft. They kind of just meld into the sky. So they're there, but they're not. And that also gives you that aerial perspective. And we'll do that towards the end. And so that the darker shadow areas, you'll come over with some light blue and, you know, maybe some purple when we get there. But yes, great. You're ready to put in some trees. Very nice. Here is some greens that I just set out from dark to light. Starting on the left side is where I use those into the right side cool shadow areas. And now you're going to see the warmer dark to light. Yeah, great. Good. Good, Tosh. Yes, perfect. Very nice. So now we're going to take some of that green, those trees, and we're going to come right kind of over in this area. And we're creating a pathway to here. So darker, warmer pastel over on this side, just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I'm going right over that trunk. And that's okay. This is it's almost like a dark green brown. It's going to come over on this here a little bit. Just a little. And moving just lighter in value. I want to preserve this bright yellow, beautiful color we have going on. I lost my trunk. There he is. Okay. Just like sky holes. We're doing tree holes. It's a little too light. Come out. I'm going to use the edge, and I'm just pressing and release. Press and release. Soften that, and then we'll come in with the darker over it. When we're trying to create that glow, we're going to actually start with the lighter color and then build on top of it. And it does seem a little counterintuitive when we're generally always working from the light or from the dark to the light. Then we have this really fun yellow. It's shining in here. Peeking out over around here. Even more of that bright green. As we move a little bit down farther. I'm not going to add this green yet until I get the lightest color, and then I'll add that highlight back on. But we're not quite ready for that. This is just again, more on the blue side. Make it like a tree. So this here, I need to do something, either make this tree a little bit brighter or the shadow lighter. And so, because it's about the same value, and it's just kind of not reading, this isn't reading forward. And so in that case, probably need to make it a little lighter in value behind it. Even though it's reading dark. Something like that. Same with here. Need to push that back a little bit. I'm just using the purples and the blues. Running out of test paper. I'm just gonna scumble right over that edge to soften it. Okay. So we've got that pushed back. Let's see. Let's do not dark enough. And then let's come down into, I kind of needed to fix that area. Probably still need to. With the tree. you don't want to spend too much time on one thing. So we'll let it be right now. Let's bring some of that color down in here. And it's just that peachy. Some orange. Come back over with some blue. Glaze it. I think what we need is to finish off this left side of the mountain, and then I'll kind of finish out this area. And then I'll let you know. Then I'll have everyone send over a picture so we can see, and then see what else you need to do.
So please, Marie.
Yeah.
Marie, can you send a picture? I think you can you
Yeah.
send a picture of where you are at? You've
Sure
gone
will.
far ahead, I think.
Yep. No
I think you
problem.
have, yeah. Thanks.
So I just started taking some of the peach and orange from up on the rocks to tie it together down in the foreground area. And then I glazed over it to just, it's not direct sun. So to gray it down, I took a little bit of this blue and just scumbled over the top of that bright peach and orange, just to tone it down a little bit. And so the next part we want to do is the real lighter tan colors on the rock here, and then set in some of this green, bright green tree. So I'm going to do that real quick. While I'm doing that, why don't you guys send over pictures of where you're at? And let's see. Good. So Rashmi, you can start adding the green now to your trees.
Yeah.
Start with your darks, your dark greens. Good.
Yeah.
Love it, Tosh. Love it. Great job. So you can actually bring up some of that orangey peach color on this mountain. Kind of come along that edge to push this mountain back. Okay. Great. Woo, that's pretty. I love it. I love it, Natalia. Beautiful.
Marie, does that mean like lighter or brighter?
Yeah, so what you want to do on yours is take that brighter, that orange and that peach and come along this edge so it pushes this mountain into the distance.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it'll pull that forward a little bit. Great job. Keep sending yours in, guys. I love it. Beautiful.
Yeah, I find it amazing what a difference all these layers make. Like from the beginning when you didn't really see what the picture is about, and now it really all comes together somehow.
Yes. Yes. Good. That's what I want, because that there's so many layers, and but now you see what the method of the madness. It makes sense now. But it is really important to have that awareness, and so great job, because it does. And when I'm selecting pastels, that's exactly what I'm doing, is thinking, what's my next layer? What's my next layer? How, if I go to, like I did that bright red pink down on the bottom, if I were to go and lay in how it looks here, it would have been too muted and too much of the same value. It wouldn't look right. So
I especially love the red with the green, like you said.
yeah.
I didn't expect it to be as good.
I know. Good. Yep. And it is. It makes it just pop so lovely with those oranges and the purples, and you know, and it's a complementary color. So I'm just gonna add in some of these. I love that green. It's sometimes daunting when you do pick out these really, really bright, crazy colors for our underpainting, but honestly, that's the best time is to do it. Oh, that's beautiful, Claudia. I love it. Very nice. Good job. How's yours coming along, Julia?
I'm really struggling with this one this week.
Yeah? What is frustrating?
Just, I think everything.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's I think I'm struggling with the paper, and everything's looking to look a bit like mud.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just have lost my way a little bit, but that's okay.
That's okay. As I always say to everyone, do it again. Yeah. Paint this again, because what happens is then you start seeing things a little bit differently, and then things start making a little more sense. So I really, really advise to do that. And I'm just going along these trunks.
It's also when you realize that, you know, what you do for sunsets, and where you get kind of quite good at that, and then you do this and you're like, oh my God, I haven't got a clue.
Well,
Oh.
it is, but it isn't. So one of the things is to remember is aerial perspective, right? And so if you can keep that in mind as you work through, okay, why is this not reading well? Well, this plane needs to be pushed back. It's competing. How do I push it back? I need to make it duller and lighter. And so if you just work through that process of as you're painting, and of course it is relative. So what you may pick out may not necessarily work so great. And right? So that's why I have a bazillion sticks sitting out here. This is what we're going to start with. But then I realized that's not looking right. Or that's just not going to work. So, you know, it is. This is good though. You get to learn all different subjects. And that's what I hope. To gain a little bit more confidence, right? And apply what you learn in certain things into others. You what?
I felt that with the sand. Like I felt that I'm very good at waves, but when we came to sand, I was like, okay, I don't know anything. It's just like next to each other.
Well, that's exactly what Julia was saying. And so that's why I think it's great that we're going to spend some time just on mountains, because we're going to be, mountains are one of those things like trees. They really force you to pay attention to your perspective. It really, really forces you without getting too caught up in the details. Right? Because that's what my brain wants to go straight to every leaf and every little tree trunk and limb, and really that's not what we want to do. So, all right, you guys, keep sending over pictures, and if you need any help, I'll be here. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good job.
Bye.
Good job. Keep up.
Happy
4th.
Yeah. Happy 4th of July.
Yes, yes.